Hello, I'm Clara. Welcome back. Right, today we're going to master a tense that'll make you sound much more sophisticated in English. The past perfect. Now, don't let the name put you off. I want you to think of the past perfect as a flashback tense. You see, in English, when we're telling a story, we usually move forward in time using the simple past. I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I went to work. Straightforward, isn't it? But sometimes we need to jump backwards to explain why something happened. That's where the past perfect comes in. We use it to show that one action was completed before another action in the past. Think of it like watching a film. The main story plays in the simple past, but occasionally we get a flashback scene that explains what happened earlier. That flashback? That's your past perfect. Before we dive into our story, let's have a look at the structure. The past perfect is actually quite friendly because it never changes, regardless of who the subject is. The formula is simple. Subject plus had plus past participle. The past participle is what we often call the V3, or the third column of irregular verbs, words like gone, seen, finished, or eaten. Let me give you some examples. Positive, I had locked the door. Negative, I had not or hadn't locked the door. Question, had you locked the door? And here's the brilliant part. We use had for everyone. I had, you had, she had, they had. It's consistent, it's predictable, and once you've got it, it's really quite easy to remember. Right, now let me tell you a story about the forgotten keys. Imagine a man named Mr. Miller. I want you to pay close attention to how the past perfect sets the stage for the simple past trouble that follows. So, yesterday, Mr. Miller arrived home after a very long day at the office. He was absolutely shattered because he had worked for 10 hours without a single break. He reached into his pocket to grab his keys, but then his heart just sank. The keys weren't there. He thought back to his morning. He realized that whilst he was rushing out the door, he had left his keys hanging on the hook in the hallway. Even worse, he had already locked the deadbolt from the inside before pulling the door shut. He looked through the front window. There they were. He could see his keys sitting on the table. He had forgotten them, and now he was stuck outside in the pouring rain. So he called his wife, but she didn't pick up. Why not? Because she had already started her yoga class and had turned her phone on silent. Poor Mr. Miller sat on his porch for 2 whole hours. By the time his wife finally came home, the rain had stopped, but Mr. Miller had caught a terrible cold. Did you see how that worked? When Mr. Miller reached into his pocket, that's simple past, the main timeline. The leaving of the keys had already happened earlier that morning. That's past perfect. The past perfect explains the reason for the situation he found himself in. Let me give you another example from the story. He was exhausted, simple past, because he had worked for 10 hours. The working came first, the exhaustion came second. To use this like a pro, look out for what we call signal words. These are little clues that tell you the past perfect is coming. Words like because. He was tired because he had worked hard. By the time she arrived, he had waited for hours. Already. He had already locked the door. Before he left, he had checked the windows. These signal words are your friends. They'll help you recognize when to use the past perfect in conversation and in writing. Now here's your challenge. Try to tell your own forgotten item story today. What's something you had done before you left the house this morning? Maybe you had locked the door, or you had already eaten breakfast, or perhaps you hadn't charged your phone. Write it down and practice that had plus V3 structure. The more you use it, the more natural it becomes. And before you know it, you'll be using the past perfect without even thinking about it. All right, that's it for today's lesson. If you found this helpful, don't forget to give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future lessons. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio!